Okay, I think I want to show some how to use HDRIs for environmental backgrounds and reflections and lighting and all that. So I'm starting fresh. My render is set to mental ray. And so I want to start just to create a scene here. The first thing you need when you do this kind of thing with mental ray is you need to create a ground plane that you can use to cast the shadows onto and to act as if you want reflections, those kinds of things. So I'm just going to draw out just a small little plane here. And you really only need it under whatever you're going to use. So in this case, I think I'm just going to create a teapot right here on top of it, and I'm going to let's go to the modify panel, and I'm just going to increase its segments a little bit so it'll render a little bit smoother. You don't need much because smoothing will do it. So now I need to create that matte shadow reflection material for this plane. So I'm going to press M to bring up my material browser, and it's in the mental ray rollout. Here it's the matte shadow reflection, so I'm going to draw it out and put it in there. And what it needs is a camera mapped background so that it'll reflect all that in there. It'll essentially make the plane invisible, but it'll cast shadows and have reflections on it. So to do that, I need an HDRI or very high res spherical environment image. So I'm going to get this background here, and let's go back to max and just drop it in as a bitmap. And this thing is a spherical environment bitmap of I think it's kind of the curve in a parking deck. So I'm going to drag that to the camera map background, and you see it, it'll pop in for something like that. And to make it spherical, I need to double click this, and instead of texture, tell it environment. And then for the mapping type, I want spherical, and this will change to that kind of spherical. This will look very weird, but that's okay. And then I just want to drag that to the plane, and let's do a quick test just to make sure it's showing up. Sometimes if it renders black, you probably need to redo this process, but I'm going to click that, yeah, and it's picking it up. And this will all be black out here because we don't have that set as the environment. So let's do that next. To do that, I want to press, let's see, Alt B, or sorry, first I want to press 8 and bring up the environment map. And let's make that an instance. So I'm going to bring up the material editor and just drag this over to the button there, and that'll be an instance. And so now that'll be the environment in the background. And if you want to see it in the viewport, let's render it to make sure, yep, it's bringing that in, and that's all good. If you want to see it in the background, press Alt B and make sure the background is checked, and just tell it to use the environment background. Make sure you have the perspective or camera viewport, whatever you're using, selected, and then say OK. And now that's in there, and so I can kind of rotate this thing around a little bit. Let's make it big so we can take a look at it. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So now we can just kind of decide if this thing needs to be bigger based on, or smaller based on the environment. Just scale in. Just understand it's always going to look like it's sitting on wherever this plane is. So if you do something like that, it's not going to work. You need to be above it. And if any shadows are, if you've got light, if you have a light in the scene, I'm just using the environment for the lighting, but if you have an explicit light in there, it's going to pull that across, or if it's real low, you just want to make sure your plane is big enough to encompass that. Otherwise, it'll look like it gets cut off where the edge of the plane is. Let's see. So let's do a quick test render on that just to see if it's sitting in there. And yeah, everything's looking good. It's getting lighting from the scene. Let's make a chrome material or something too. In fact, let's make a couple of these guys so that we can test out a few different materials. I'll just hold out Shift and drag that guy. And I want a copy, not an instance, and let's make another one just to have something to play with. And let's make our ground plane a little bit bigger. And I'm going to press G to hide the grid now that I have that plane in there. All right, let's see. Let's bring up our material editor and let's make some materials to put on these guys. I'm just going to bring out some Arch and Design materials and just make them various things. We're just going to use the default here for this one. Let's put it on that one. Let's make a copy of that, double click it, and let's make a chrome. Let's put it on this one back here. And let's see, what other templates might there be? I could do glass, but glass can really run up the render time, so I don't really want to do that. I think I'm just going to leave this one just as is and just let it cast some shadows or maybe do some reflections. So let's visit our matte shadow reflection material again and make sure it's going to do what we think. Yes, it's receiving shadows. Right now it doesn't have any reflections on it. I want to do some tests before I turn those on, but it looks like it's going to be okay. And then just, let's see, let's do Shift F so we know what we're seeing relative to the framing of our render. Maybe zoom those in a little bit, turn down, and let's see, let's test our render on those. Yep, chrome's looking good, the plastic's looking good. Could probably put in a skylight in the scene to get a little bit better ambient occlusion lighting on it. So let's try doing that. I'm just going to drop that in the scene and let's see what we get now. It's definitely going to increase the render times, but it's going to look so much better just in terms of the ambient occlusion lighting. Another way to do this, I didn't think about this. Sometimes let's delete that guy and right click and get a Omni and put it on, and then just go to the Modify tab and turn it off, because that can then tell mental ray you want to use the lighting on that. Now things are going to look really dark in here because when you do this kind of thing, now it's looking at the photographic exposure control. So I'm going to press 8 to bring up the environment, and see, we don't have any exposure control, so let's turn on mental ray. I'm going to leave no preset on right now to start and just see what it does. And okay, that's bringing that back. So and that can be a problem because this thing apparently can't handle that. So let's take that back to no, and let's see what we get with it. Make sure everything's back to normal. So it looks like using that. I think there's a way around that. I know there's got to be a way to make that work. It's just been a while since I've done it, so I'll have to look back through it. But let's turn that off, and let's go back and let's go ahead and delete that guy and just put in a skylight. That seems to be working pretty well. And if it's a little heavy, you could drop the multiplier down on it, but that seems to be doing a pretty good job. Again, it's going to slow down the render times, but it's definitely worth it to get that nice ambient occlusion lighting on there. And let's see if I could then bring up the exposure control without having that thing go all to heck. Nope, just doesn't like it. So what we could do there is put in one of those sky portals relative to the lighting in the scene, or you could try putting in a couple of skylights with no, you really only need one. Sky portal is probably the best way to go about doing this. Let's get zoomed in so we can see the reflections and things a little bit better on that. that's looking really nice. The final gather should be turned up to take out some of that speckling. And these guys probably look a little bit big. Giant teapots heading down the road there. Let's pick a little bit better angle. Let's see. Yeah. There we go. Let's try that. And let's go to a better, a little bit better format. It's going to take the rendering a little bit longer, but it'll be good to see these close up, to see that you are getting pretty good HDRI background. Again, final gather, turning up the image precision and turning up the final gather out of draft, getting this from low and out of draft will significantly improve things. But yeah, we're getting really nice reflections in there, and reflections off that kind of glossy, default glossy Arch and Design material. And this is just a matte white. It's essentially the wireframe color of that thing, and we're getting our reflections of the other teapots in the chrome. This is a great way to do these kinds of things, and it's even better when you set it up using the iRay renderer, which is very similar to, or it's essentially the exact same renderer that BlunkSpeed uses, but it's a little more involved to set up. So I hope this helps, and we'll see you later.